it's Aura.
And Khadaura.
And today we're going to talk about our birth story because we felt that we were looking for so much information online as we were going through the pregnancy and we couldn't find what we were looking for.
We're going to share our steps from ground zero up until postpartum and all the things that we learned. We can say the hard way and some of them the easy way.
So this video is going to be broken up into 4 parts. The first part is going to be the mindset and the things that we were thinking about and talking about and researching in the weeks leading up to the birth. Then we're going to get into our nursery and the things that we bought getting ready for baby Scarlett.
Yeah.
And then we're going to talk about the birth story itself. So the active labor and the actual process of bringing this soul from the other side to this side. And then finally, we're going to get into postpartum care and basically what we're doing now. Yeah, so what did we do in the weeks leading up to our birth? What was our mindset like?
I'd say definitely in the weeks leading up to the births, it was so much research. It was Google, ChatGPT, you name it, learning about doulas and all the things. I'd say from my perspective, my mindset was literally as the father of this child, how can I be the most supportive for my partner? What can I do? So I started looking up things about what a male can do, what a father or a partner could do to be supportive in the beginning. So my mindset was staying as grounded as I could be. The one thing I did find is no matter what happens, no matter how stressed or how joyful we are, ensure that I get to be the rock and stay grounded.
And you definitely were the rock in that, because also the mothers, like I feel like I'm not the only one that experienced lots of anxiety leading up to the birth. The pregnancy was good. You just have to get through it. But I was, as the 9 months came up, I was really anxious for the actual birth process and what to expect. So we did lots of research on, the placenta. We were like, do we want to keep the placenta? And we found out that apparently your placenta is worth $50,000 and it is donated to research after the woman gives birth. If you don't ask to keep the placenta, they take the placenta, they donate it. It just didn't feel right with us to give away the placenta. So we looked at pros of keeping the placenta, and we can end up using it for stem cell research. If ever our child has something in the future where they need stem cells, well, you can use your placenta. So we were like, okay, that's already a great reason enough to keep the placenta. So we kept the placenta.
In our case, when it comes to the placenta, it was as easy as getting Ziploc bags and bringing something that could hold and store it while it's cold, while having freezer packs. And I know we're going to talk about it later on. We're going to share the list of the things that we got as well.
Yeah. And that was really funny too, is that during the birth, when the nurse that was with me was asking what we wanted to do with the placenta, my partner already had it all covered. He's like, don't worry, we got it. So we looked really prepared in the birthing room as parents, which was really cool. We also did research on vitamin K because that was something that apparently parents are kind of like blindsided on the spot. And they're like, oh, well, we have to inject your child with this vitamin K. So we had done research on it. We did not want to go with the vitamin K vaccine because there were 2 options that they presented us with. They presented us with the vitamin K vaccine or the vitamin K pill. The vitamin K pill, they said, oh, but that's not really useful. It doesn't really work. So already there, we were like, that's a little weird, a little bit of a red flag. So we decided not to go with the vaccine entirely, and that's going to be your call whether or not you want to go with that option, but we decided not to. So do your research on it. Apparently, it prevents brain hemorrhage 6 months into infancy, but also it's like a very rare case that a child or an infant will go through that brain hemorrhage. So it was just like, do we want to inject our child with all these preservatives, and there's like benzyl alcohol and just this stuff that's like unnecessary and will live in the child for a long time? We were like, no. So do your research on that.
And know that like, no matter what we share, you can never be as prepared as you think you're going to be, and have your phone on you while you're there. That's why it really helped us to have our phones, to be able to look up things about vitamin K, because when we did ask our doctor and things like that about vitamin K, we were told, hey, it's a very low percentage that your child will get anything, because when we looked online, the child starts developing vitamin K on their own within 7 to 14 days. And 2, when it comes to the pill, what we learned was that the pill had to be taken in every 2 weeks, 3 times. And even if your child takes a pill, it doesn't mean that they're going to be sufficient enough in vitamin K. So there could be something wrong. So when we weigh the options of, okay, inject our child with something that we really don't know what's inside of it, or they're going to live with this for the rest of their lives, even though they've been doing it since like the 1980s or whatever it is, or give them a pill where it's not even guaranteed that it's going to work. Why even get it if we know our child can get it in the first 7 days? And we'll just take very great care of our child. Crushing it.
Yeah. Hotness. In the weeks leading up to the birth, I was so exhausted. So I had a lot of exhaustion and I just wanted to sleep. I needed that extra rest. Something that's really important to do before your birth is to visualize a really positive birth experience. There is so much fear during pregnancy, not only from other people that you talk to, but in the medical team and like your nurse or your doctor, they will provide you with the opposite end. Like literally my nurse did tell me, she's like, this is a very traumatic experience. Like worst case scenario, the mom and the baby dies. Okay. Like that's like really intense to hear during pregnancy. But if you do have the right care providers, they will tell you that. So they will prepare you with the worst case scenarios. But if you are someone who spirals, you might focus on that. No, don't focus on it. Take it as it is. Visualize the outcome that you actually want to happen. So I wanted a natural birth. This is something I visualized. This is something that I wanted to stick true to. And I visualized Scarlett coming out of the vagina amazingly. My care providers did tell me, be prepared for like a cesarean, be prepared to need the epidural, be prepared. A lot of people I spoke to said, don't be a hero, like just go with the flow. All of that is super great. I would say go with the flow, but stick true to the visualization that you want.
Yeah. Trust yourself, trust your body, and just know you are like she's saying, you're gonna get so much information where it's like you're wanting to be like, I want a natural birth, and you're gonna be hit with all these walls. Well, what if you can have a natural birth and still listen to the stuff we're saying? We listen to everything everybody was saying. Yes, cesarean. Yes, there may be cases of what if they both don't make it? What if you have to choose between one of them? Which we had that discussion as well. Just don't let that be the thing that dictates the energy that you have days before, during, and after.
Yeah, don't go into it with fear. Also, meditations were really powerful for me. So doing like positive birth meditations, positive birth affirmations, something that came up in the meditations was affirmations like, my body is made for this. My body is strong. My body is intelligent. These really did help me understand that my body will know what to do when the time comes. And also breath, how important breath is and breathing techniques during the birth, surrendering to what your body already knows how to do. Huge.
Yeah. Just remember, like, as you are someone that is birthing, that her mother had children, her grandmother had children. So it's like the reminder that your ancestors have been doing this for centuries, for thousands of years, for millennia. You're not the first to do it. And seek the advice, seek the support, reach out to family members, reach out to other people to find out what their experiences are. Again, this is why we're sharing this. We would love for this to be another experience that someone gets to add to hear, like, yes, it gets to be positive. Yes, you get to trust your body. And yes, that it gets to be a fun and beautiful and magical experience.
Obviously, contact people who you think will give you positive affirmations too. I ended up contacting lots of mamas online just for their experience, to know how long their labor lasted, what they were going through, what their worries were. And a lot of people just told me, just breathe. Your body will know what to do. So huge, just focus on the positives, have your strong visualization. So let's get into what we prepared for our nursery.
Ooh. So basically, when it came to the preparation phase, that was a whole nother thing of market research, and just know that you can never be over prepared. One of the key things we wanted to make sure we had was the bassinet, which we did. We ordered online. Obviously, you're going to go through and look at a bunch of different types of bassinets. We decided to go with the travel bassinet that we could take with us, so it wasn't something made out of wood. You're definitely going to want a changing table, which I'm so glad she was able to find an amazing changing table on Marketplace with great drawers and things like that. And diaper genie, though, I would say those are the main three things. The diaper genie.
What's really cool too is you can make a birth registry on Amazon and then link it on your social medias if people want to help you out with that. I know people can send gift cards. People can just look at the things that you chose on your birth registry. We chose a breast pump, so we're going to link everything in the captions too to show you guys what we chose and what we have. So we got a breast pump, and I would say one of the hugest things now, being in the breastfeeding phase, is having a manual breast pump. So it's something that just suctions on your boob and just sucks on. You don't have to do anything. And when baby is like breastfeeding on the other boob, then this milk just comes out. That has been huge. That's the only way we've actually been saving our milk right now, because the other one, the breast pump, that is like you have to like hold them to your boobs and like press the button, and it's like this electronic thing that it's a long process and it takes a lot out of you. It's really beneficial, but it does take a lot out of you.
And just know that when she says like the manual one, it's not like the physical manual pump. You get so tired doing that. And there's electronic one. There's one that literally is just silicone or plastic or whatever it is. It just suctions onto and stays on, and you can just let it drip.
Also, for nipple care, getting these silverettes that we got on Amazon, you basically just place it in your bra and it soaks up the milk, but it's a natural lubricant for your nipples, because the first 3 days you're going to have something called colostrum come out of your nipples, and it's not milk yet, but oh my gosh, I had bruises on my nipples. I had red spots and stuff. So it is really painful, and I wasn't expecting that at all. And then now it's much easier, especially with the right care. So those silverettes are everything. They are $100, but I think it's real silver and it really does work. So get those. That's been incredible.
Yeah, even the bras you got were...
The bras that I got too. So obviously getting like breastfeeding friendly bras, got those on Amazon. I got a diaper genie, which basically covers the poop smell in the nursery. Really important.
So yeah, diaper genie, it's probably one of the coolest trash cans I've ever seen. All of the diapers just go in. When you pull the bag out, I think it holds like 35 to 40 diapers, and the next bag is just ready to go. It's just very simple. And then one of the other great things we definitely recommend to everyone is getting some type of sanitation device. We got one on Amazon. I think might have been like $140 or something like that. It's super important to get one of these, because if not, you have to keep boiling hot water all the time, or you're using soap and using a separate basin. And for us, it's really easy to just clean it, pop it in. Within 40 minutes, it's sanitized and dried.
It's for the bottles.
Ready to go. So it's for the bottles. If you had pacifiers, and when we say bottles, it's the bottle, the tops, everything that you're using, you're going to want to sanitize every 24 hours.
And we also got a hospital bag for our baby, which was really cool. We put in little hats to prepare for the birth, little onesie outfits. Onesies are so amazing, better than like shirt and jeans. Like who's going to put jeans on their baby? Onesies are so comfortable. We also invested in a stroller. So we bought like $1,000 stroller, because this is going to be a stroller we use up until she's like 5 years old, because there's a car seat and a stroller that come together. We got the Graco.
It was a Graco jogger. So the reason why we went with the Graco jogger, and best advice we can give you is invest in the car seat, stroller, whatever the connection thing is. If you're paying $100, $200, you're going to keep buying them over and over. Like she said, we invested in the one that was $1,000 because it comes with the base for the car, which has like little measurement things. So you make sure everything is great. Car seat locks into the base in the middle. It straps into the car because the car is for child safety. And then you just kind of unclamp it and hook it into the stroller. And then the stroller is good up until a couple years old and stuff like that. But main reason is we couldn't leave at least the hospital here in Canada without actually having the car seat on us. So that's why we really need the car seat.
Yeah, that's actually huge. So you can't leave the hospital with your baby if you're having a hospital birth without a car seat. So get yourself a car seat if you want to take your baby home.
And make sure you get a car seat that is for newborns. It's got to be for newborns, because the padding inside is way different than it would be if you had a kid that was 1, 2, 3, or 4 years old.
True. Another really huge, vital thing to get, and I'm so grateful that someone on social media from high school reached out to me telling me, you need to get these things for postpartum care. I was like, thank you so much. It changed everything for my postpartum care. A Peri bottle. It's like this pink bottle on Amazon. It's like a portable bidet that you just clean your vagina with, especially if you have stitching after your birth. So Peri bottle, really important to get. Also pads and diapers, because you will be bleeding for literally 30 to 40 days after you give birth. So it's not like you really skip your period, because you have all those days of blood after the fact, which I thought was crazy, wild. I never knew that. Oh yeah, and get yourself a breast pillow for breastfeeding. So it's just this round horseshoe shaped pillow that you use to breastfeed. And then these little blankets are really great, blankets that you put over your baby. And then this like sling that you put to breastfeed over yourself if you want to do that in public and you don't want creepos looking at you in public. I feel like that's pretty much everything that we prepared for our nursery.
One of the things that we researched and learned is when it comes to the breast milk and pumping and things like that, if you were to pump and say you got 2 ounces or something, you put that in the refrigerator. If you pumped another one, you can't pour that directly in. You'd have to put that one in the refrigerator and wait for it to be at the same temperature. And then those bottles that come with caps are actually different than what you would use when it comes to feeding the baby. We were lucky enough to get a set of bottles for the baby where on each of them, it's just 3 different phases, where one of the bottles is for the newborn, where it has a small hole. So it simulates more of breastfeeding, where the other one has 2 holes and so on, with like 3 months on and then 6 months on and whatever it may be.
And that's a huge point. You don't want to give the baby a bottle with a big hole in it, because if the milk comes out too easily in the bottle for the baby, then the baby will not want to latch on the mother because the milk comes out more slowly on the mother. So make sure that you use a bottle with a smaller hole, especially as the baby's just like an infant. So let's get into the birth story. So birth story. This was something that I really wanted to know going into the birth, because I wanted to ask the moms like, oh my God, but how long did labor last? How long were you in pain? How long were you suffering? Like, I felt like I couldn't find this information anywhere. But a couple of moms did reach out to me and they were like, it was so fast. Some people were like, try to stay at home as long as you can during your natural contractions. So the doctor's recommendation for how long to stay at home until is when you have a contraction for 1 minute long, every 5 minutes, up to 1 hour. So this did happen to me a little bit after midnight. And so we went the whole day awake. This was actually something I really did not want to happen, was to spend the whole day awake and then go into labor, because I knew that it would take a lot of my energy. So I was really sad about that. However, she came when she came and everything is all divine. So that's amazing. So a little bit after midnight, I started getting these contractions, 1 minute long, every 5 minutes, up to 1 hour. I also wanted to know, like, what does it look like when your water breaks? Will you know that your water breaks? Is it going to be like in the movies where it's like this huge scenario and you have like water everywhere and people are like, oh my God, rush her to the hospital? No, not at all. For us, at least, it was not like that. Basically at 10 in the morning that day, my water broke, and it broke just when I went pee in the toilet. And it was like these little flakes. They were kind of like brownish flakes in the toilet. It looked like something was going on in the toilet.
Looked like little tofu cubes or something.
That's what it looked like. And we had known that it was the water that broke because someone in my family told me that that's what she experienced. So I was like, oh, okay. So the water broke. So it was 10 a.m., but nothing else came of it. I was very tired that day, and I didn't want to be on social media and I didn't want to do anything. I just wanted to make necklaces. So I just made necklaces the whole day. We watched our show, The Big Bang Theory. And basically a little after midnight is when I started getting really intense contractions. And I didn't have contractions all day long. It just started after midnight, got really intense contractions. So I ended up staying at home for 3 hours until I looked at my partner and I was like, baby, we got to go to the hospital because she's coming. So we got to the hospital.
And definitely just know, like, because there was like blood dripping. These are good things to know.
Yeah, there was a little bit of blood. It's called a bloody show. Apparently, before you give birth and you have blood, it's called a bloody show, which is totally normal.
So as a partner, these are things you get to look at and pay attention to and learn. Because again, I get to be like the grounding force to be like, it's okay, this is what it means, and just be super supportive. I really urge anyone that is going to be with someone that is going through this whole process that you also pay attention to all of these things. Like, if I didn't know what was going on, I would have panicked when I saw the blood. I would have panicked when I saw it was in the toilet, but I was like interested to know and to understand so that I wasn't freaking out and I wasn't coming from this energy of fear. I feel like that's really easy for the person that's supporting to end up with that cycle of fear, to be like, no, what's going to happen next? You're bleeding and this is wrong. So definitely pay attention to everything that they're learning.
Having a supportive and grounding partner is everything, because it counterbalances the anxiety that the mom feels, especially because we're going to go through this like traumatic bodily experience. So having this like voice of reason to be like, you have to surrender. Like you're good. Like nothing else, nothing bad is going to come of this. Like just chill out, you know?
Bruno Mars it.
Just Bruno Mars it. Just chill out. A little after midnight, contractions are starting. So I stay home for 3 hours until I can no longer stay home. So I'm in active labor now. We go to the hospital. I'm like waddling to the car. We tell the nurse, I'm like, I want a natural birth. Please check me. So they have to check you to be able to admit you into this birthing area. So they checked me. They go up you basically, and they feel how dilated you are. They can feel the cervix and how much it's pushed down. I think that's what it is. And basically I was 5 centimeters dilated. And what's interesting is I thought that the water broke the day before. So we went to the hospital the day before and I was 1 centimeter dilated. So she's like, don't worry, you've got time. Like you could be 1 centimeter dilated for weeks. Okay. It just happened. I went from 1 to 5. So I was like, wow, okay. So she's coming down this birth canal fast. So I was 5 centimeters dilated. The doctors take you into the birthing center when you're past 4, at least in Canada. So they're like, yep, you're ready. So come on. And I was like, is she going to be born today? They're like, yes. So once you're like past 4, there's no going back. Like she's coming, right? So 6 more hours of that intense pain is what I went through in the birthing room. Intense pain. Like every hour I got 1 centimeter more dilated, and it goes up until 10 centimeters dilated. Once you're 10 centimeters dilated, you should be ready to push. It took about 6 hours for me to get up to, let's say, 9 centimeters dilated. And I was struggling so much. I was literally like pushing into his shoulders.
Death grips from Star Trek. I was like, wow. And this is one of the things I went into it knowing, like I knew for a fact, like, all right, she's gonna be in pain. I'm gonna be support. And one of the hardest things for me was just watching her. I was like, this is the woman I love in this much pain, unable to sit, unable to lay down. She was moving all over the room. And again, this is why I was grateful that I sat down with myself and was like, be the grounding force, be the person that's able to just to take it. So I felt really, really great in those moments where she was in this pain and getting ready to deliver our beautiful, magical baby. And I could just be someone that she just holds on to. But I definitely remember there was a moment where she was in so much pain and she pinched down. And I was like, it's okay. Just do whatever you need to do. And deep down inside, I was like, you are killing me. I might pass out.
He looked at me with like fear a little bit. He's like, oh my, is she gonna be like, is she gonna keep abusing me right now? It was really bad. And I was expecting the worst pain. It was worse than what I was expecting. So I did a natural birth all the way up until 9 centimeters dilated. And at this point, I'm like, my eyes are like looking everywhere. I'm like, oh my God, I don't know. How does God do this to women? I was like, I feel like I'm in hell, baby. I was like, I feel like I'm in hell.
We were going through everything. Just hopefully your hospital and your nurse they gave us this like pamphlet of all these different things to try. There's things where you can kind of go under and hold the stomach up. There's just different balls and tools they can have in there. So obviously try everything that you can. But yeah,
something I was not anticipating was not being able to sit down or lie down. I had no relief. I remember looking at him being like, I just need relief. I can't sit down because it hurt too much. The contractions would be 10 times worse when I sat down, and I could not lie down because the baby was coming down. So you need gravity on your side. So all I was doing for literally 8 hours was pacing back and forth on his shoulder, just like this, just like, oh my God, baby.
You can find out what your hospital has in the birthing center in the rooms before you go. It's really, really helpful. We got to find out like they're going to have the medicine type ball. They're going to have the bar to hold on to. They had couches. They had a window. I'd say having the window is one of the most beautiful things, just having natural light coming in there. We weren't able to like light any candles. Oh yeah, we did have like this whole packing list.
Yeah.
A whole packing list of things that we thought we were going to do.
We were going to bring candles. We even printed out a birth plan. The birth plan was out the window. We wanted a hands-off birth. Basically, that's like you let your contractions do the work, and you don't let any doctor like pull out your baby. Like you let your body push your baby out. That went out the window because the pain was so intense. The nurse saw how much pain I was in, and I told her, no, I don't want the epidural. I want a natural birth. She's like, do you at least want to take a morphine pill? I was like, okay, if it's not an injection, I'll take the pill. The pill literally did nothing. If anything, it just made me slur my words. I was like, this is not working. It did not take the pain away. I would not have taken that again. And then finally at 9 centimeters dilated, the nurse was like, are you sure? I usually don't do this, especially with women who want to do a natural birth, but you're in so much pain. Are you sure you don't want the epidural? At that point, my partner looked at me and he's like, what comes up for you when you think about taking the epidural? And I was like, that's such a powerful question. And the things that came up for me was, one, I did not want to medicate the baby. I did not want the baby to come out all drugged. So I told the nurse that, and the nurse is like, the baby does not come out drugged, like at all. It doesn't even hit the baby. It doesn't touch the baby at all. So I was like, okay, that eased my worry a little bit. And the other thing was that I did not want to be paralyzed, because I had heard stories from people close to me who are very much older, who feel the epidural has affected them long term in some way. So that was a long time ago, but it still was a big worry.
Yeah. And it's super easy for the doctors to just dismiss everything and be like, don't worry about it. This is why we're saying, like, do your research. We looked into all of these things to see that if there's even a slight chance, if there's 1% chance, we still at least just want to know.
Yeah, I feel as though had I not gone the entire day before awake, because at this point we're probably awake for like 24 hours. Had I not gone the entire day before awake, I probably would not have opted for the epidural. But one of my biggest fears going into this birthing thing was that I would not have the energy to push, and that I would have to have an emergency C-section when she's like literally ready to come out or something crazy like that. So I literally was like, okay, I'm going to go for the epidural. I was like, I'm going to do it. One of the reasons also why I did not want a natural birth to push is because we had heard next door this woman shrieking, letting out these, literally it sounded like an exorcism was happening. She did not sound like she was having a good time. And that was a huge reason why I did not want to push with the little energy that I had naturally.
Yeah.
At that point, it's been 8 hours natural. I have a couple hours left to go. The doctor comes in with this tiny little needle. Everyone said the needle was huge too. That was another fear. So they came in with a tiny little needle, injected it, instant relief. Oh my God, instant relief. I could finally lie down. I wasn't drugged. Like, that's the thing, is like, you're still fully cognizant and aware of what's going on. You're not drugged out of your mind. You just don't feel pain anymore. So that
you feel
was
the
amazing.
pressure, but not the pain.
You feel the pressure. So for instance, I would know when a contraction was coming. I'd be like, oh, there's another one coming. And they'd be like, okay, amazing. Like, breathe through it. And then I'd feel pressure. I would say, I feel like I need to push. And they say, don't push just yet because you'll tear more. You're not ready to push just yet. So I was on the epidural for 1 hour, but I could finally relax and I could just chill out, which gave me enough energy to finally push. So I was 1 hour with the epidural and then 45 minutes of pushing.
Yeah, I will say one of the interesting things about the epidural, that was a beautiful story that I got to witness, was from the time of being told we were going to get the epidural, that was the longest 45 minutes we had ever waited. I felt so bad for, because obviously if they say the anesthesiologist is going to come in 30 minutes or 45 minutes, you're excited, but it's a long time. And this is just understanding that if there's only one anesthesiologist inside of there, they may be helping with a ton of other people. So you will have to wait and be patient. Having a nurse that would keep in checking with us until that process happened. So I was really grateful that you were able to feel a huge release of pain.
When I found out that I wanted the epidural, the guy could only come in an hour after that. So I was like, oh my God, this is excruciating. Now I know I want it and he's not ready to give it to me. My entire labor process was 10 hours, from a little bit after midnight when I started the labor to basically 10 hours later is when she came out. So for 45 minutes we were pushing, and a doctor does come back to check in to do the exam in the vagina. And she said, she's like, oh yeah, you're ready to push. So we're going to push now. And then she actually left and 2 male doctors came in, which this is where the whole adapting comes in, because I did say I did not want a male doctor, which was just like a personal preference. I didn't feel like I wanted a male doctor there, but 2 male doctors actually came in and helped deliver. One was a resident and then one was like an actual doctor. Having that male energy to like push was actually really good, because they're like revving you up and they're like, okay, let's go, we're gonna do it again. So it was so funny. And one of the best experiences ever too was that the nurse was like, do you want to watch your birth? I was like, what do you mean? She's like, do you want a mirror to watch your birth? I was like, yes. She brought in a mirror so I could actually watch baby come out. I could see the little hairs coming out of the vagina. It was so funny.
I was actually really grateful to participate because what she was explaining earlier in terms of like the breathing exercises and the actual push was that you take in a deep breath and then you push, and we were counting down from 10 to 1 and there's like a short break with an inhale. And I felt really bad because when she was pushing, it wasn't just normal pushing, it was pushing but holding your breath in. So I got really excited when the nurses started counting, and I was a little bit nervous at first because I'm like, if I start counting with them, are they going to tell me to shush up or something? And we're like 10, 9, I'm like, all right, they're not saying anything. So I got to really be
so he counted along process
too. So yeah, and I was just really happy to hold her hand the entire time, to cheer her on. We even recorded that aspect for us to hear in the future. I'd say that was like one of the most amazing moments, is just holding her hand, getting to see her, getting to coach and cheer her on.
Something to expect during the pushing is that don't be discouraged. The baby will come out and then back in. There's going to be like this seesawing process of like out, going back in, coming out, going back in. There is a point where like when you're pushing, you know, you have to push, but you also feel that when you push, your vagina will tear if you do tear. So there's actually 4 degrees of tearing. There's 1st degree tear, 2nd degree tear, 3rd degree tear, 4th degree tear. 1st degree tear is very superficial, very easy to heal. Up to 4th degree tear, which is like your muscles, the inner parts of your vagina and everything tears. So that's like really intense. I got a 2nd degree tear and I felt it. I felt it tear as I was pushing. I was like, okay, that's going to tear. I got a 2nd degree tear and a right labial tear. And the right labia is actually what I felt tear during the process. So my friend had actually told me to prepare for stitches after birth. So as baby was coming out, everything was amazing. The doctor started stitching me up right away. And I wasn't nervous about that because my friend had stitches and she had 2 kids. She had stitches both times and she told me to expect that. So I was like, okay, yeah, they're going to stitch me up. I already expected it. If I did not know that, I would have been like, what do you mean you're stitching me up? What happened? Am I okay down there? So just expect tearing if it does happen. It took about 15 minutes to stitch up. And then they do say like, oh, right after you birth your baby, you have to birth your placenta. That could take half an hour. Not for me. They literally pulled the umbilical cord and pulled my placenta right out. So baby came out. And then like a minute later, they pulled the placenta out. It felt so relieving. Oh my God. It felt like a giant basketball was out of my belly. It felt so good to just like, it felt so relieving.
I was actually really grateful. I know they always talk about like the parent or the partner or the dad gets to cut the umbilical cord. It was very interesting because the scissors they gave me, I was like, never seen anything like this before.
They're tiny,
so
right?
I clamped down and it cut half of it and then I cut the other half. One of the things we had in our plan was to, before cutting it, was to let it turn more white before cutting it. But we weren't able to do that in our case because we went over the 40 weeks. Our baby may have developed meconium, and we did realize that once she was born and we cut the cord, they did have a NICU, an ICU team in the back right corner of the room. So once I had cut the cable, they actually did take the baby and have to pump out some of the feces that had gotten into the baby's lungs or into the baby's system and stuff like that. For me, I'm really glad that we kind of did the research on that because I would have been terrified in that process.
After I gave birth and daddy cut the cord, like we were looking at the doctor and we're like, no, don't cut the cord, don't cut. And they're like, no, we have to because your baby has meconium. And that's because we were 41 and a half weeks pregnant. And after 40 weeks pregnant, lots of more complications happen, meconium being one of them. So we were like, okay, we both agreed on the spot. We adapted. That was something we were both like, okay, yeah, obviously take the meconium out, take the poop out of her lungs. But one of the biggest reasons why we wanted the cord to turn white is because there are like 3 things that if you cut the cord right away could happen to your baby, which is like asthma, allergies, and other things. That's why it's really important to at least wait 10 minutes or however long for the cord to completely turn white, so that your baby can have all the nutrients pass from mom to baby. But we had to make a decision in that moment. And we were like, no, do the meconium thing because there was a little bit more of a risk. So yeah, I was really happy that we were so on the same page of like what we wanted for our baby.
It was a great team in the back corner of the room. I could still see her. I could see the baby. They were telling me everything that was going on. But for me, just seeing them stick tubes in the baby was fearful, but I knew why they were doing it. And again, with them explaining to me, hey, we're actually pulling these things out, me seeing what was coming out of the baby, I was like, okay, I'm grateful that we cut the umbilical cord. I'm grateful that we went over to the corner. I'm grateful that they're talking to me. But I do remember having this one moment where I was a bit scared because here I am watching our newborn baby, which we agreed on that we would never have the baby out of our sight. But at the same time, knowing that she's still having to get the placenta removed, also getting stitching. So I remember I was like, okay, I just walked over. Then it was like, hey, do you want me to stay here with you or do you want me to be with the baby? And I was really grateful. She's like, be with the baby, because I really just wanted her to know like, hey, I'm here with you. You and I are number one. This is our priority. And at the same time, but for me, it was one of those things where it was like arm's length for people, where the baby was here, she's here, looking back and forth,
looking at
and I was right in the middle, focusing on both.
Because that was a big thing for us, is we did not want our baby out of sight.
I would say go through and look up all the worst case scenarios so that you can decide in the moment, like worst case scenarios is what we're going to do. Best case scenarios is what we're going to do. And then just be willing to adapt. And we had those conversations before we went in there, which made it so fluid and flawless.
Fluid and flawless. I like that.
Getting lit up.
Getting lit the fuck up. Moving on to postpartum care and how we dealt with that. So right after the birth, we basically stayed in that room for like an hour before we could be transferred to the postpartum care. I was brought there in a wheelchair and you held baby.
Yeah. Well, actually, we did leave out skin to skin.
Really important.
Yeah, definitely. I want you to share that first, like your skin to skin experience.
Oh, well, the minute that baby came out, they put her on me right away. And I was breathing very heavily and I was like, my baby. It was so beautiful because I had not seen her face yet. I just felt her on me. And that was like, oh my God, this little human we have shared the same home and the same body for so long. Now she's her own body and she's on me. It's like no other experience to feel basically a little you on you, but a little person who is her own little human.
Record all this stuff too. Like bring your phone, make sure your battery's charged, because I feel like if I hadn't recorded that, that's not something she would have been able to see what it looked like from the outside, because me seeing it is way different than what she experienced. And getting to see her breathing, getting to see her smile, seeing the tears and the joy and all the love. And then obviously at some point, because they'll take her into the bathroom to clean up and stuff. And then I get to do skin to skin before we were moved in the actual postpartum room. So that was such a beautiful experience. It literally goes from the two of us in there with the nurse and the two doctors. NICU team comes in there. So it's like 4 or 5 people. So at some point you may have like 10 people in the room. It may look like it's a crazy animal farm or something like that. And then out of nowhere, it's back down to just the 3 of you, where it's like a lot more calm. You have the baby. And then we got moved over to the postpartum section. Again, do the research on placenta. I did the research, looked at what I needed to bring in there. I packed a whole bunch of things. So it was like once a placenta came out, we had already told them we wanted to keep it. They had put it to the side. I was worried because the area they put it in looked like an area where it was going to be tossed away, which is where all the other things were. So I actually went over there, grabbed the bag they had, put it in a Ziploc bag, washed my hands and all that stuff beforehand, put it in another Ziploc bag, already had the case ready to go with the ice packs, put it in there and took it straight to, that was the only time I left. I took it straight to the freezer and things like that. So.
The little center is really close to the birthing center. It's just like across the hospital. It's very like dark and really nice. And we have our own little room. And so one of the biggest helps, because like after stitches and all that, I'm like still waddling and very, very weak and like bleeding heavily and burning. Just like the whole thing is like so traumatic for the body and very sleep deprived. So having a partner to help with the littlest things, like basically whenever I would go to the bathroom, he would place little toilet papers so that I could just go pee.
Literally place like 5 of these out. And reason being so, because once you get in there, how high the toilet seat compared to how low the toilet paper is would just be super painful to reach down. So I tried to do anything and everything that I could to make that experience for her simpler.
And it was. And he would wash out my bloody underwear and prepare a peri bottle for me every time I went to the bathroom. It was so supportive, because also the conversations that we had about like the dad's place in the birthing room and just like in pregnancy and in fatherhood, it's kind of like, it's sad for some fathers because they want to do so much more, but there's so much biological responsibility placed on the woman that the father's like, what can I do? Especially if they want to be there and they want to help out and everything. So it's just being that emotional support. I know I kept telling him like, all I need right now is emotional love and nurturing. I need that oxytocin. That was the biggest thing that I needed. And like would help out with all these acts of service and everything. And that was amazing because like you want to be helpful and stuff. And from my perspective, all I needed was like emotional loving. I needed like the extra kisses, the cuddles, the hugs, because my body just went through absolute hell and torment and torture is what I felt like. So I just needed lots of love and lots of emotional support.
Be there. Like she was saying, I guess from the father's perspective, I didn't hear a lot of things about what fathers experience or what fathers did. And one of the greatest advice I did hear from another father was take whatever you need to stay awake. Because again, we realized that in the birthing center, in the postpartum area, we weren't going to allow anyone to take the baby and go to any other space. So again, I was just focused on staying awake, focused on giving as much love and support as I could to my loving partner and our baby, and obviously getting things like food and like just preparing things to make the experience easier.
Yeah. And we had like this plan to play music during but no, it was just silent the whole time. I just needed that mental concentration to get this done. But yeah, peri bottle, really important during postpartum care. They do provide you with like 3 meals. The meals were terrible though at the hospital.
I liked them.
You ate them. Yeah, I did not like them at all.
Also, she's speaking about the peri bottle and that some hospitals may have them for you. Our hospital, unfortunately, did not have them. Yeah. And another thing is pillows. You're going to want pillows. It is very uncomfortable when you're in the hospital, one for her and one for whoever, if you're the partner, father, or whoever's there. So bring a small pillow or something for yourself because they don't really care about the partners of the fathers while you're there.
Anything else that we prepared for the postpartum phase is just like diapers, pads, the peri bottle.
Oh yeah, actually, one of the things we did not know, and we're really grateful that happened by chance, we're going to thank our spirits for doing that, was not only can you not leave the hospital up until without a car seat, you cannot leave the hospital, at least in Canada, until the baby has peed. And we actually weren't aware of that because on the diaper, there'll be like a blue line on the bottom, which you'll see instead of yellow or something like that. And we just happened to have one, and the trash can that hadn't been taken by the cleaning people. So we were able to show that. If we had not been able to show that, we might have had to wait around for a couple more hours because you already have to wait 24 hours. Bring your snacks, bring your music, bring your pillows, bring extra changes of clothes, bring your toiletries, your soaps and your face washes, your toothbrushes and your toothpaste, and all those things like that. Bring your peri bottle, bring the extra diapers, bring the baby wipes. We're saying extra diapers because our hospital gave us one. And so I'm very grateful that we brought that in advance, that we brought baby wipes and all these other things. And know that depending on what it is and your levels of pain, they're going to be bringing you different medications. Definitely always ask what it is, ask what the milligrams are so you know how much you're taking, and so on and so forth.
And the last thing I would say is make sure that you take videos, like think about what your future self would want, and then tap into that version now, and then do what that future self would want to do. For instance, I really wanted to take a video of daddy and baby in the hospital so that in the future, he could have a video of him with our newborn in the hospital. And he did that with me. So we each have a video of our newborn in the hospital. And then I would have liked to have at least a video of the birth, but I was in so much pain. I didn't even know he ended up taking a voice recording, which is even amazing. But like, I would have loved a video. So I would have loved to like think about that, you know, and whatever, it didn't happen. We'll get it for the next time. But I'll always mentally visualize seeing Scarlett in that mirror. That was the coolest thing ever. So yeah, just think about your future self and what they would want to reflect back on, and have those videos and cameras in the nursing. So I think that's pretty much it.
Practice setting up everything. Practice setting up the car seat in the car, bringing the baby out of the hospital, one of the most magical experiences. But for us, it was very interesting because when we brought the baby out, everyone thought our baby was so much older. They're like, how old's your baby? We're like, a day old. Our baby is a day old. They're like, oh my God, our baby has the mind of an adult, wide eyes open.
The doctor was like, wow, how are your baby's eyes so wide?
When she came out, her eyes were wide open. She was looking at everything like, okay, I'm back. I know who my parents are. I'm gonna cry. Let's do this shit. And it's been like that the entire time. Every moment is such a blessing. And I know that for some of you, you hear all these horror stories about the crying and the sleep deprivation. Yes, you're going to be fucking sleep deprived. It's going to happen. You're going to have moments. And we came up in the very beginning where it was shift work, where it was like 2 or 3 hours on, or 2 to 4 hours on and off. And then eventually we were able to get into this phase of it's more of like sleeping throughout the night, pumping milk during the day.
We wouldn't leave the baby alone to sleep. We would be sleeping 3 hours. He would be with baby. I would be sleeping. Then I would wake up, I would be with baby, he would be sleeping. We did this for a week and a half until we were like, oh my God, this is not sustainable. Like, we both need a good night's sleep. We have to sleep at the same time. How can we ensure that nothing bad happens to our baby while sleeping? Okay, so don't put any blankets in the bassinet with the baby. Don't put any toys. Don't have anything in the bassinet other than the baby, okay? The only other thing that you can put is putting a swaddle on the baby, which is kind of like a piece of clothing that doesn't really have any like arms or legs. It's just like a cover on the baby that zips up and lets their arms like come out. It's like the most safest thing for the baby.
It's safe in that it one helps the baby from moving and sliding around too much. One ever cover over the baby. One of the biggest things we heard, and you're going to hear it about, is SIDS, sudden infant death syndrome, and people are going to scare the shit out of you. Yes, please go do the research, understand what SIDS is, so that you get it in your mind that this is a very serious thing, while at the same time understanding, hey, these swaddles, order swaddles in advance, get a couple of them. We wish we had bought more in advance, because your baby just might so shit and piss through their diaper and things like that while they're sleeping. So just know that you're going to be washing things, whether they're the bibs, whether they're the blankets that you use throughout the day. Just know that you're going to be washing. It's going to be a lot of diapers, going to be a lot of baby wipes. It's still one of the things we're very grateful for, that we were able to eventually get to a point where we were both getting a good night's sleep, where we could both sleep in the same room with the baby, pumping milk, where it's like she's able to sleep a lot more because I can always go and warm up the milk and feed the baby and so on and so forth.
Yes. And having like lighting. So we have like this cloud light. It's like a very good light for her eyes. And also making sure that you have this time for you and your newborn alone without family coming to like interfere that bubble. Newborns can get so stressed very easily. And they're also, they're not immune yet. So they have like really sensitive immune systems. So you don't want like a bunch of people coming to see your newborn, bringing in germs, kissing the baby. Oh my God, no. So just make sure that you are not pressured by family to like break that newborn bubble just yet. You want to make empowered choices to introduce your baby to your family when you're ready. Like, don't like forsake your own boundaries to please other people. You're now taking care of another human. Prioritize that human over what anyone else thinks. Even if they get mad at you, they will understand in the long term. You're doing what's best. If you want your baby to be held by anyone, make sure that they are sitting down and you place your baby on them sitting down. Like, no standing up and holding, because you never know what can happen. We've heard all the people who have dropped someone else's newborn. Don't let it be you.
Yeah, definitely. What she's really going into is focusing on yourselves. If you don't want anyone else to see your baby for a week or 2 weeks or a month, then so be it, because you're doing it for yourself, because you don't want someone coming in when you're both sleep deprived and your house looks like a mess or whatever it is. And with that being said, know that I think within the first 72 hours, at least, we had someone that stopped by to check the baby's weight and things like that, which was super amazing, because you're going to want to monitor and make sure that the baby is gaining weight properly, being fed, shitting properly, pissing properly, and so on and so forth.
So our baby ended up weighing 7 pounds and 9 ounces, which is really huge for us because we did have a smaller baby up until 5 months. So if this is something you're going through, it was really stressful for me. He was the grounding voice of reason. For me, I was like, what's wrong with my body to grow a small baby like this? She was under the 5th percentile. And then at 6 months, she had a huge growth spurt. And then the doctors were like, are you doing something different? I actually was doing something different. I was working out less and I was sleeping more, period. So just sleep more, work out less. I think I was also severely underweight before I got pregnant. I was 145 pounds, but very skinny. And that was all muscle because I did lots of CrossFit. So 145 pounds. By the end of the pregnancy, I was 196 pounds. So I actually gained 50 pounds, which is a huge amount of weight to gain. But I was really happy to gain all that weight because it went to our big baby.
Beautiful weight, babe.
Our big baby.
And the other thing is, like, we keep saying, like, trust your body. She went through a plethora of transitions of food from dairy, Nutella, whatever the thing is, whatever the food is, eat it and just see what happens. And obviously in that process, something that came up for me is because she was eating and not going out as much, I was doing the same thing. So fathers, understand and know that you may gain weight as well. And that's okay. You gain that weight, you both get to lose it together. We're excited to lose it. I'm already losing weight and things like that. Already shifted the way we eat and stuff like that. Just know that this is a journey for the both of you. And I've been really grateful because one of the things that she uses in terms of language is like our pregnancy, our baby, our birthing. And that really, really helped me in the process because I feel like for many men and many partners and things like that, it may feel like because she's carrying the baby, everything is with her, everything is on her. She's the only one experiencing, but she made it very clear, like, hey, we're both going through this. We're both carrying the baby. We're both feeding the baby. So anytime she would say something like, she wanted ice cream, it's for the baby, I would do the same thing.
Yeah, he'd be like, yeah, I'm eating ice cream for the baby.
I'm eating ice cream and the pizza for the baby.
Yeah, because he has a spiritual connection to the baby, and the baby is a spirit too. So
she has the womb, and for males, we have the Hara, H-A-R-A.
Yeah. Another thing that we got, by the way, is this beautiful camera that we're actually watching our baby on right now. So we can talk through it. It's called Hello Baby. We wanted one that was not connected to Wi-Fi because we heard these horror stories of like random strangers hacking the camera and then talking to the baby in the room. We were like, hell nah. So we got this beautiful thing. We can watch our baby. We can play music from it. And it was a way when we were doing shift work to connect and watch each other too. So that was really nice.
Very powerful. Whichever monitor you decide to get, again, our key feature was one that doesn't connect to Wi-Fi. Doesn't connect to Wi-Fi, then it's just like its own internal network, which is almost like connecting something with Bluetooth. That's very, very secure, while at the same time, ours specifically has like night vision mode and a thing called box mode. Some of you may know that most of these monitors are on all the time. Ours is set for different levels of like sounds that the baby makes, or if one of us decides to talk to each other, we can hear each other. But I do love that even now we're able to just monitor and see what's going on. One of the things you're going to want to make sure is that you can mount it somewhere in the room that you can see it. That's something that we went through of having to try to put it in different places to see what works best, because they may not all scroll and look down. They may not look as far left and right, but ultimately you'll find a way that works best for you.
And the most important thing is have fun. This is such an amazing experience, especially if you have a supportive partner to do this with you. Have fun. Know that this is a huge responsibility of bringing life from the other side to this side. It's supposed to be fun. Yes, there will be a little bit of sleep deprivation at the beginning, but like this human chose you. During the pregnancy, I spoke to so many women who were not able to have children, ended up attracting so many infertile women, which made me so grateful to be pregnant, to gain the weight, to have the swollen ankles, to go through all the hard things, because women could kill for it. I'm even grateful for the stretch marks that I have on my thighs. I'm grateful because women would kill for this. And that was something I was reminded of so much during my pregnancy. So have fun. This is a huge honor and blessing. And
have fun. Shit's gonna happen. Shit's gonna come up. You're going to be scared. You're going to be nervous. You're going to be anxious. You're going to be stressed. All those things are going to come up. Allow yourself to experience and feel every single thing that comes up for you, because it is a part of the process.
Thank you all so much. I hope this was really helpful. If you guys have any questions, feel free to reach out to either of us about our experience. And if you have advice that you want, let us know. Instagram handles or a vibe in.
Khadaura Roshan.
How do you spell that?
KHADAURAROSHAN.
Love you guys, and we'll see you next week on the next episode of Magical Moments.
Let's get it. Let's go.
Bye.
Boom.